Hey there, all you It Gets Weird listeners. This is a bit of a different week than normal. We're actually not having a main feed episode this week. So, this is an unlocked episode from our $5 tier on our Patreon of our bonus show called The World of Weird, where Kyle and I talk about everything else. We talk about anything that we don't have time for on the main show, whether it's little tidbits of stuff about a topic or movies or just other things we're interested in. So, it's kind of a more free ranging discussion of Kyle and I talking about anything we might go on tangents on. So I hope you guys enjoy. We'll be back next week with your normal It Gets Weird episodes. And we thank you all for supporting us. Hello, all you Patreon donors, and welcome to the newly christened show. It's final, folks. We did it. We're calling the show The World of Weird.
That's right.
Where we're gonna take, this is the larger world. We're gonna go outside of the boundaries of what the main show does. It'll be everything that we want to talk about. Same format, new name. So yeah, welcome to The World of Weird. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle. And we were just talking, like, the world of weird is a phrase that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
It speaks to a broader discussion.
I do think it's funny that it like we were trying to retroactively come up with the phrase Fortean effectively by like a way to describe the larger world of what we'd talk about, and we started calling it the world of weird, and then we discovered Fortean, and we're like, oh, okay, there's kind of a name for this, but we still use World of Weird because it's kind of ingrained in our podcast at this point.
I actually think about this more regularly than like than you might expect, because like Fortean, that like describes something a little more specific than like the broadest possible. Yeah, like the breadth of what we cover on the show. Like it kind of almost lets conspiracy theory like slip through a little bit. Like it's still sort of part of that. But like Fortean is more like unexplained events, UFOs, cryptids, strange happenings. Like I think of like when I think of Fortean, I actually would like my mind would go quicker to something like the Kentucky meat shower. It's just like a weird event that like is hard to explain. But then, you know, obviously all the other stuff we talk about. But like, yeah, it doesn't even feel like it captures everything. So like, I think World of Weird does make sense for what we talk about. Yeah. Which sometimes, I don't know if you've ever felt this way. Sometimes I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm going to accidentally, through reading about stuff online, unlock an entirely new subgenre of this shit. Mm-hmm. It feels like sometimes that's just around the corner. Like I remember the last time I really felt it was like there was the crypto currency. No. It was no, it was
you got into Dogecoin.
Yeah,
I was to put all your savings into it. And we got a new topic.
You know, long story short, I'm broke now. No, I mean I am, but like that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's not capitalism working as intended. Not. Yeah.
I didn't get into Dogecoin. I was a big fan of Poo Coin, the poop themed one. No, like crypto, like plants. I'm trying to come up with the word. But like trees and plants and things. There's like an entire sub genre.
Cryptoflora.
It is something like that.
Fauna? Which one's which?
Anyway. Flora would be the plants. It wasn't that. It was a different term that like my brain isn't functioning highly right now, so I'm not coming up with it. But you know, it just it feels like, or like atmospheric beasts was another one where it was like this feels like it could be its own thing. Usually those things are kind of limited though, which is the thing that kind of trips me up. Like atmospheric beasts gets grouped in with explaining a lot of other Forteana, other weird things. And there's a very, very small percentage of like this particular creature that was seen in the sky is considered and specifically an atmospheric beast and is not classified in like any particular direction, but it gets grouped in a lot of different things. I don't know. So yeah, World of Weird. It makes sense to me. I can already, I'm sort of formulating an idea of what the sort of show, the logo could look like. I've got some thoughts on that.
Great.
So yeah, I think it's a good name. I mean, we deliberated like longer than we really needed to, but like when I think about it, it's like our brain space to like set aside for like developing a podcast show name, it's like it's just not available. A lot going on.
Yeah. But I mean, I know there is a lot going on, but I figured I would give you an update on one thing that we talked about last episode. Turns out I used to, back when it was a thing, now it's not really a thing because Amazon is fucking dumb. Back when I was on my big Comixology usage time period, I guess I had bought both volumes that were out at the time of PTSD Radio.
Oh, nice.
So I read the first one.
Hell yes.
So I figured I would follow up on that since you brought that up last time as a recommendation.
Yeah,
I read the first volume of PTSD Radio. I liked it. It was a lot of stuff about hair.
Yeah.
A lot of like the format took me a while to get used to because it's very like you're kind of jumping around a lot. It's set up to feel like you're flipping through a radio like at like 2 a.m. trying to find anything, and you're just kind of getting these fragments and vignettes and stuff. Which is a cool format. I'm used to a little more straightforward beginning and short story type collection stuff with some of the other horror stuff I've read. But this was really interesting, and I'm probably going to go back and read the second volume at some point.
PTSD Radio is really cool. And I also, like, when I read that first volume, I was like, what the fuck? Why is this so disjointed? And then it sort of starts to come together, right? And
yeah, I kept thinking, oh, that's the end of the story, and then I would like 60 pages later, that character would show back up again, and it would kind of continue, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess it wasn't done.
It's really good, and I'm glad you liked it. I think if you wanted, and I'm hopefully not going to give you misinformation here, but I'm pretty sure that the author who did that also did another series of just straight up short stories, Fuan no Tane. I don't know if that has an actual stateside release or not. I don't have that material prepped.
You don't
for
have
the episode, but
and you don't have a physical copy of it. You've probably read it online.
I did. I mean, like, there's a significant amount of stuff that I end up reading online because it's just not available in the States yet. If I love it, I will pick it up. I mean, Chainsaw Man, I blasted through that shit in like a week. And at the time, I think it had like maybe 80 or 90 chapters. And as soon as they started publishing it here, I picked it up. And which is troublesome, being broke, because on the topic of manga, I have another manga that I desperately want to purchase all of now.
Okay,
because I love it so much. Similar to the excitement I felt when I first discovered Chainsaw Man, and was like, this manga's fantastic, I love it. I have started reading DanDaDan, which people, I believe, in our Discord have talked about a little bit. They posted the Flatwoods Monster being in the manga, which the reason I ended up checking it out is because there's 3 episodes of an anime out. And
yeah, I've seen like people getting really hyped when the theme sequence, like the title sequence got put online. It went around Twitter a lot.
If you'll allow me to, like, give me just a moment to gush for a second, because first thing that I was like, I know I'm gonna love this. It's by the studio Science Saru, who has I'm
they
obsessed.
Did the Scott Pilgrim series, right?
They did. Mm-hmm.
So they did written and co-created by my cousin.
Yes, it's like they've done so many. Like I basically have seen most of their work and loved every single thing, and that includes like their like weird guest appearance. Like they have a guest animation segment on Adventure Time that's amazing. It's like one of the best
I
parts
think
of the
I
show.
vaguely remember you yelling about that when it happened.
it probably
in a good way,
because I mean I'm the guy who's like, this segment was directed by so and so, like Masaki Yuasa. Like I am that guy 100%. And some people like that and some people don't. But
I find it charming.
I know you do. You're safe to me. But if you can relate to geeking out about a thing.
I used to be the guy that would shit on you for it. So I've worked both angles.
Well, you can relate to geeking out about something and seeing somebody's eyes glaze over in real time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
baby.
you can really relate to that. So anyways, Science Saru, I love them. The original director, Masaki Yuasa, is like made some of my favorite stuff in the last like 10 years of animation. And now it's, I don't know how to pronounce their name, so I'm very sorry. Eunyoung Choi, I believe, is the director now that Yuasa has left. Also fantastic. Like the first episode, within the first 30 seconds, the animation, you're just like, oh, this looks gorgeous. But so already a point in my core on my goal, whatever the fuck. I don't know. Tennis, soccer, who knows?
Yeah, field goal, kick,
touchdown, whatever. Exactly, home run. The other thing is the show I just heard, because DanDaDan's been serialized, I think, Shonen Jump manga for a while now. I had heard that the plot was about aliens and ghosts and UFOs and stuff, and I was like, that sounds cute. I've never, I didn't fully grasp like how much it was about that. And I think I sent you some screenshots of manga pages that I was reading, because it references so much like shit.
Project Pegasus gets a
Project
drop.
Pegasus. It's funny because in the anime, the same segment, they show like a vaguely Donald Trump looking figure, and they're like, the American president has already gone to Mars. Check out Project Pegasus, which is crazy. But in the manga, it's straight up a drawing of Obama, and they say Obama has gone to Mars.
And then they tried to update it, and that goes further away from the actual story of the old big cheese.
It left me wondering, like, are they thinking like, well, Obama's not in the cultural consciousness right now, so let's change it for the anime. But it's like the manga is more faithful to the Project Pegasus lore. It's crazy. But like I've continued to read it. It was one of those things where like I watched the first 3 episodes. I'm like, this is incredible. It's really absurd and silly and fun and cute. And then like maybe once every, I don't know how many chapters, it has like a genuinely heartfelt moment. And that's the stuff that really gets me. I really like the characters, which is why it works so well, is like the characters are very charming. And anyways, point is, I'm reading it. I'll read manga in bed at night before I go to bed. And I like breeze through like 70 chapters. I'm super into it. So let me tell you what it's had in the manga so far, that I can remember, because I'm probably going to forget. So they fight a Mongolian death worm.
Okay.
And it's like a giant fucking monster that's like kind of hooked up to a volcano that's like always on the brink of erupting. And eventually they defeat the Mongolian deathworm and turn it into a giant fire hose to put the erupting volcano out. And it's something I realized about the manga too, is like, if you were to explain the plot, you sound like a goofy 12-year-old who's just making shit up. Like the whole plot is like that. There's like a lot of the paranormal stuff is like, so what's actually happening? Sorry, DanDaDan spoilers for anybody who doesn't want to know. For the next like 5 minutes, what it turns out is aliens are invading Earth, and there's a fleet of them that seem to be surrounding the Earth, and they want to invade Earth for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that's about yet. But the reason they can't get on Earth and launch a full-scale invasion is because yokai, aka just paranormal forces on Earth, can fight back against the aliens.
Okay, so it's setting up. Okay, there's some interesting cross sections of that they would have to make some decisions on.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis whether or not certain terrestrial cryptid type beings are actually alien.
Right. It's
interesting.
It's a very. Here's the thing. It's very loose about its rules and stuff. Like, there's so much stuff. Like, if you wanted to go and pick apart, like, well, this little plot thing doesn't fucking matter. At one point, they're fighting a shrimp alien mantis guy who can, like, he's like a mantis shrimp that can hit really hard in the water. But guess who's also in the water with them? It's fucking Nessie, and she's a giant monster.
Okay, I thought it was maybe going to be Ningen.
No, and they're appreciative of global cryptozoology and alien lore, which is really fantastic. Like, a lot of the times Japan gets very Japan focused on that kind of lore, and there is that stuff in it too. But like, and for whatever reason, like, sometimes I feel like they're just like, well, we can't. We don't know how to incorporate this particular thing, so we'll just name it after that, even though it doesn't resemble or act like that thing at all. So the mantis shrimp guy, one of the names that he goes by is the Dover Demon.
Okay,
so there's like,
so the Dover
cuts.
Demon is a mantis shrimp alien. Okay.
Yes, and
weird.
it's so weird. So they fought the Mongolian death worm. There's like one of the paranormal things is the evil eye. Is like a possessed, like a demon, not a demon, but it's like a ghost that possesses you that like wants to kill people called the evil eye. It's another classic in the Japanese like ghost mythology stuff. Let me think what else there's just so many things in there. So Nessie, like I said, there's just so much. Flatwoods Monster, which the Flatwoods Monster, I get the impression is sort of a variant of the creature where it's a giant sumo wrestler.
Okay.
So it's a giant sumo wrestler with a Flatwoods Monster like cowl thing, and they have to beat it. They one of the things that they try to do is beat it with sumo wrestler rules. So they go for the legs to try and force it down, to like knock it down onto the ground. Which kind of works, but then it grows another pair of legs and it like sits back up again. And like they're using torii gates, like those Japanese gates. Part of like what protects them is they can use torii gates to like block out evil spirits and alien entities and stuff. I'm sure there's like a bunch more, but it was so delightful. Reading through it and hearing all this stuff. It's super goofy and absurd. Oh, sorry. This is what I meant to tell you. They just got to what I'm assuming is the new arc, which is the kaiju arc. So they're fighting what is essentially Godzilla right now.
Nice. I like that. I love a kaiju.
It's quickly becoming one of those things that like every time I look at I pull it up to read it, and I've got like a big grin on my face because it's so fun and goofy, and has all these references that I appreciate. So that was my gushing about DanDaDan. If you like anime or cryptozoology or UFOs or whatever, check it out. The anime and the manga. So that's been my like I outside of like reading that and then watching the first 3 episodes, I've been so busy with other bullshit. But that's been like my recent obsession. Have you had anything cool that you've been into recently?
Yeah, I watched some movies that but I also, real quick before we get to movies, I found this, and I posted this in the Discord right before we started this episode, just a little bit ago. I came across this on Twitter. in the conspiracy theory channel, you'll find it. It's an image of lots of books from Anne Rice, the writer's personal library.
Okay.
And lot 181, which is on the far right side, is all of her conspiracy theory textbooks.
Oh.
All of her conspiracy theory books. One of which is Dark Mission, The Secret History of Mars.
Oh my God.
By Richard Hoagland and Mike Barra.
What the fuck?
But we also have a David Icke book here. We've got The Sphinx Mystery. We've got Forbidden Archaeology.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never read Anne Rice. Was this like a known thing? Like that she...
I don't know. I literally just came across this with no context.
Yo.
Like 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago.
Rice is I mean, the thing is, like, you got David Icke on your shelf. Are you like me, or are you like me and Niall, or are you an anti-Semite?
I truly don't know. I don't know much about Anne Rice. I just saw this and I was like, would I pay $200 to $300, which is what this says this would cost, to get Anne Rice's personal copies of all these conspiracy books?
Honestly,
maybe
I would probably, if I had the money,
because that's like a decent number of books there. Like that is like street price. That's around $200 to $300.
That's honestly incredible. That's a great collection. Hey, somebody in our Discord who has the means, who wants to buy this, should do it, because that's honestly probably incredible. Like, and think maybe she.
What if she took notes?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is what if she took notes in the books? You could have Anne Rice annotated fucking David Icke.
Someone buy these, and I'll set up a PO box, and you can send them to me, and I'll somehow make content out of it.
That seriously, I would be so stoked on that. That's so strange though. It's not.
I really should. I've been meaning to watch Interview with the Vampire because it's like one of the only times in movie history that Tom Cruise plays a villain.
Sure.
And I kind of want to see that.
I know some people
I haven't done that yet.
Like it. And isn't there like a new series or something? Yeah,
there's a TV show on AMC that people really like. Supposedly is very gay.
Oh, yes, that I've heard.
Good way.
Yeah. I'm used to you using gay in the sort of disparaging way. So yeah, that was like sort of surprising.
It's good to clarify.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Interesting. Yeah. I've never read or watched Interview with the Vampire. Is it with a vampire or with the vampire?
With the vampire, I believe.
Okay. So, and that's just somebody who like a journalist from the New York Times sits down with Dracula type thing, or?
I honestly don't know really the story. I see a lot of gift sets of people lounging in chairs.
Yeah.
Both Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, but also the people in the new one. There's a lot of like in fine clothing lounging very casually on like chaise lounges and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Also,
that's the most thing I know.
I'm gonna nip this in the bud before anybody sends an angry email about it or whatever. I apologize. I should not have referred to the folks at the New York Times as journalists. That's my bad.
Yeah, true. That is fuck the New York Times.
Sorry. No, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about Anne Rice. Maybe people in the Discord can educate us, I guess.
What Anne Rice is essential. Send us tell me what I need to if there's anything I need to take in.
And I would personally like to know which one is the most inessential plus horny. Like maximum in both categories. Let me know.
If you were to put a tier list together of give me the S tier horny,
Yeah, seriously. I would love to know. I also see here that she's had a work adapted to a manga. Which makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah, that does make they like. There's like they like kind of period piece.
Wait,
high society.
I'm realizing how little I know about her. She wrote 2 books about the fictionalized life of Jesus.
I didn't know that. All right, is Anne Rice interesting?
Maybe it says in the mid-2000s, following a publicized return to Catholicism, she published the novels "Christ the Lord Out of Egypt" and "Christ the Lord: The Road to Cana." Fictionalized accounts of certain incidents.
Funny.
That's strange.
The idea that you would publicly convert to Catholicism and then instantly commit basically heresy is really fucking funny. It's like, I know that doesn't technically count, but like writing a fictionalized novel about the life of Christ, I think has to be
I
blasphemy in some way, shape, or form.
You would probably upset like a majority of devout Catholics, for sure.
Yeah. That's really fucking funny.
Strange.
All right.
Well,
did people like them?
I don't know. I'm kind of just scanning her Wikipedia because I just don't know. But let's see. I mean, look, the first one merited enough to have a sequel. So
true. I mean, if Interview with the Vampire Lady wants a book deal, you don't sign her up for one book. So
it says BeliefNet, which I'm assuming is like a Christian. It says pseudo-Christian lifestyle website.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It says named Christ the Lord out of Egypt is its 2005 book of the year on the basis of its, quote, creativity, its unique spin on one of the world's most important religious figures, and for its impact on Christians and other readers. Plus, the Japan Times raved that her inclusion of Christ's Japanese brother was pretty astounding.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's in the review that I'm reading right here. Okay, I'm sorry, that was not true, but
I was gonna say that doesn't seem right.
No, so, hold up in a second because I'm about to go see Wikipedia. I don't know, Niall. I don't know if you know this, and people out there, I don't know if you know this. Prone to rabbit holes. You go on Wikipedia, you fall down a rabbit hole. I'm looking now at the Wikipedia page BeliefNet because I have to know, where does Wikipedia get off saying that BeliefNet is pseudo-Christian? Because that seems like an opinion to me.
Yeah, that does seem like a weird weird delineation for Wikipedia to make, unless there's something like pseudo-Christian has to be defined somehow, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. And it doesn't have like a pseudo-Christian, pardon me. See, you can leave that hiccup in because that's what people pay for.
No, I marked it and I'm taking it out, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. This is so weird. Fox Entertainment owns it, so that's cool.
Oh, great. So by pseudo-Christian, they mean Fox News. Okay.
I guess so. BeliefNet provides users with Christian inspirational material and lifestyle coaching. I could use some of that. They feature stories, quizzes, recipes, and other resources related to spirituality, blah, 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 love and family, who gives a shit. BeliefNet.
So it's Christian BuzzFeed?
I guess. I guess so.
Wow.
Now, introduced concentrated mini sections to answer the demand for more genre-specific content, like its apron strings section with resources for moms. Oh, boy. As well as its women's health section. Non-Christian faiths. Okay, so it's BuzzFeed, but then like the insinuation. I love apron strings, the section for mom, because what else is she gonna be wearing?
Tradwife Central.
Okay, sorry. I put my Wikipedia. I put my Wikipedia deep dive on hold, but I am a little perturbed by pseudo-Christianity because it does sort of imply something about
the existence of real Christianity.
Yes, actually, that's the real terror.
I'd love to meet one someday.
Yeah, for real.
I'm
more of a Christian than most Christians. I'll say it. I mean, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, it's like your hit bit. Who in this room is the most
Christ-like? Yeah, and it's usually me.
Yeah. True story. That is a recurring joke that Jules quotes regularly.
I love that. Sorry, but I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you going to say?
I was going to bring up. I watched a movie that I'm curious if you have heard of, are interested in, if you know anything about. I watched In a Violent Nature.
No, I don't know that one.
Okay, great. That's even better if you don't know about this. This is a movie from this year. It's a horror movie. It's on Shudder.
Okay.
It is the basic rundown of this movie is that it is a slasher movie told from the slasher's perspective.
Okay.
And so the main character that you're following the entire movie is the killer, and he doesn't talk. He doesn't you're basically following Jason Voorhees around.
Sure.
For an entire movie, and it got discoursed to death when it came out on on Twitter and various other places because a bunch of people can't like sit still for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And we're saying it's slow and boring and everything. I absolutely adored this movie.
Okay.
I thought it was Jules and I both thought it was fucking great.
Huh.
Despite a bunch of people saying it's slow, I think it's very fun. I think it moves very I think pacing wise, it's great. I heartily recommend In a Violent Nature. It is brutal as fuck.
Okay.
But it also is really good.
I haven't heard of this, but I will make note of it. It's funny because I feel like the only other movie that I can think of, and this movie comes up a lot when we talk slashers, is Behind the Mask. Yes. Which is like it's from his perspective insofar as like he's got a film crew documenting him and he's telling them why and what he's doing and stuff. But yeah, from the perspective of the kid, no, I'll have to check that out. I'm honestly pretty behind on horror in movies in general right now for reasons, but because like I missed The Substance, which everybody was very polarizing reviews. I
very much want to watch that when it hits VOD. I'm going to rent it and watch it.
I'm curious about that. What was the other one? There's a couple things. I did see that there's a trailer for a new the guy who made Long Legs, who we had kind of a discussion about.
Fucking Osgood Perkins.
Yeah, Osgood Perkins.
His movie about the like toy
monkey.
That one.
Yeah,
there it is.
I liked the trailer. I was my girlfriend likes to watch horror movie trailers, see what's coming up with me. And I thought that trailer looked pretty fun, and I'm curious. It's like a Stephen King thing.
I have not seen the trailer. Yeah, it's based on a Stephen King short story, I think.
I sort of it almost, what it felt like to me is it felt like they were trying to do a Final Destination, but with sort of the monkey's paw.
Oh, I love it. Look, I low key out of the I think my favorite 80s slasher franchise is Nightmare on Elm Street. Like that's probably my favorite franchise overall in terms of things. But like Final Destination is very fucking close.
Yeah.
Like Final Destination is probably top 3 for me. It goes Nightmare on Elm Street, Final Destination, then probably Scream.
Okay.
And so anything trying to do the Final Destination form, I'm fucking into it.
It's not. It doesn't exactly
I know it's not exact,
have the same vibe, but it does seem like you curl the monkey's paw type shit, and then there is an inevitability to the death.
Okay.
So I'm curious about it, and it's based on a Stephen King thing, which like Stephen King is like hit or miss for me. I prefer him when he was very coked out in the 80s. But
have you ever seen the movie that he directed that he entirely forgot existed or whatever?
I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen clips of it, but I've never watched the whole thing.
I haven't watched it. I've listened to a podcast about it because they did a How Did This Get Made about it. It's called Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive, that's right. Which I think we've brought up and confused it with the James Patterson books.
Maximum Ride.
Maximum Ride, which I did read those when I was young.
Yeah, I did too.
But
had like such a fucking
the worst
part of an ending.
The worst goddamn. What's fucked up is like what was ostensibly the ending when those books were coming out, and I was picking them up as they came out. Mm-hmm. Turned out to not be the ending.
Oh, okay.
They kept going, but I remember being so deflated by it that I just dropped them entirely.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember like being like, what the fuck? James Patterson or whoever has like there's some environmental organization that he's like working with now. Some like, I don't know. Yep. It read very scammy and weird and stupid. But you remember that.
Oh yeah. I was so confused by that. And fucked. I hated it.
It was the stupidest shit. So for those who don't know, Maximum Ride.
It was second in my youth to there being a 4th Aragon book in terms of like disappointment in a writer.
Yeah. I was you know what I think was still just bangs, and I can't remember if this was something that you got into. The Keys to the Kingdom series was like one of my favorite like young adult novels when I was young, like in middle school. And that shit was Garth Nix, kind of a baller for that one.
Yeah, I read one of his books so many fucking times called Shade's Children.
Yeah, Shade's Children,
And then but I read multiple of the Keys to the Kingdom. I don't think I ever finished
Keys to the Kingdom was sick. But Maximum Ride, for those who don't know. All right, I feel like I've talked about this on the main feed, but like I just want to say it here because it's funny. I was super into that book series. I want to say it started either in elementary school or early middle school that I started getting into it. It was very it was about these kids with wings who were like being experimented on, right? And it was kind of like the X-Men in a way, like if you think about it, like they were like outcasts who had wings, and they were like a found family who were trying to like fight against these people who experimented on them and blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember the beats of the stories. And I honestly think I might just go look at Wikipedia summaries of it to remind myself. Cause like now I'm trying to remember. And there's like romance plots and stuff. It's
got a whole YA bag.
Yeah. Everything you could possibly want when you're 14 years old, basically. And it ended, quote unquote, with this like, we have to save the environment message.
It would have been okay if it had been seeded throughout the whole like 5-book series.
But it wasn't.
But it just randomly showed up in the last 100 pages of like the 5th book. And you're just sitting there just like,
what the fuck
is this? And it just like I said, it ends with the most wet fart thing I've ever it was
truly bizarre. It makes me want to like go back and see if I can find out what happened there, like behind the scenes, because something had to have happened, and it has to do with whatever, it's so, like, I don't know, like a non-profit or whatever the fuck he had like money being funneled through or whatever. I don't really know.
Yeah.
James Patterson also has, here's the conspiracy take. Pretty sure he has like CIA connections.
Oh really?
Yeah. So like, honestly, it's entirely possible that that shit was just a psyop against preteens.
So I think we could probably even, like, I know that this was his YA book, but James Patterson mostly makes his living writing writing like airport novels.
Yeah.
And so I think like you can basically just assume that Hudson News is an op.
Yeah. I'd be inclined to agree with you. But yeah, Maximum Ride. I don't remember how we got down that particular avenue of discussion, but wow, it's fun. Oh, because we're talking Stephen King. You know what I was thinking about with Stephen King recently?
Okay.
His actual best movie-related thing in his life. Outside of The Shining, which, like, if you ask Stephen King, isn't actually a Stephen King thing, and I'm talking about Kubrick's The Shining, which is taking a lot of liberties from the book. Anyways, I guess The Shining is technically the best, but Stephen King disowns it. So, fuck him. But it's his appearance in Creepshow. That's
pretty far up there.
Creepshow. I was just thinking about, like, I'm due for a Creepshow rewatch. I love the first 2. I think I tried the third one and thought it was really ass.
I've seen the first 2 as well. Probably the first one I've seen more, but I watched the second one for the first time last year, I believe.
Oh, really?
I got kind of in a bit of an anthology kick in the middle of October last year and watched a bunch of them. I remember there being like one of the segments being a fucking like club banger, like maybe even better than any of the ones in the first movie. But I don't remember much more than that.
I think, there's like maybe 1 or 2 segments in the second one that are like really great. And then the rest are like fine. But that first Creepshow, the one where he finds the meteorite and he's like trying to flip it. It's Stephen King. Stephen King is like playing like a a farmer in like a podunk little town. It's the best Stephen King has ever been on film in any capacity, I think, outside of The Shining.
So you think, okay. So here, anytime someone makes a statement like that, before I like give my opinion on it, I always have to like go look through stuff.
You have to think about what actually has been adapted from his works, because most of it's bad. I'll be honest.
Because I'm looking at a massive list on Letterboxd here, and the only candidates I have that I can really say that I would like throw up against, not necessarily against The Shining, because that's kind of like we said, it's a separate thing. But I'll run these down and see if any of these spark joy in you. I don't know if you've seen any of these, but so where was it? Running Man.
Never seen it.
Oh my god, The Running Man is so fucking good.
Okay.
It's a future. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh,
it's based on a Bachman book.
I've seen part of it. Yes.
That movie fucking rules.
Okay, I'll have to watch that.
And then I guess he did something for Tales from the Dark Side, which is another good horror anthology. But the other thing that I would put up there is, have you watched Christine?
I haven't actually seen it. I've seen some clips. I know the effects are really cool. But I've never.
It's one of those things that like I think I wouldn't be surprised if Stephen King doesn't love the adaptation, because I think it doesn't really. I'm not sure it really like. Carpenter feels like he was doing his own thing with it.
Right.
But I thought that movie fucking ruled. Like a lot of people look at it as kind of one of his work for hire type projects.
Yeah.
And while that probably technically is true, I think that I really think Christine is a little underrepresented in a lot of people's ideas of his filmography. And it is 100% worth watching.
Interesting. I would definitely check it out. I mean, on people listening to this podcast, and you both know, I was on a pretty severe Carpenter kick. Like probably my favorite, one of the best things I think I watched this year was They Live.
Such a good movie.
It was like that, and I Saw the TV Glow were like my two favorite things I watched this year. And so yeah, big Carpenter kick, and I'm totally down to check that out. I've seen like clips. I've seen, because like it does have some like notoriously cool effects.
Oh yeah, they do some cool shit with a car that is it looks like it looks impossible to this day. Like it feels you even when you know what they did,
it's like crazy. Yeah. I'm always cool. Down for stuff like that in a movie. But yeah, so Christine, I would check out for sure. I'm like thinking ahead of you too, because like Pet Sematary is like okay to me.
I've never seen it.
I actually just watched the newest Salem's Lot that they did, and it was like, again, it was okay. The original Salem's Lot, I actually haven't seen the movie. I read the book many, many years, like middle school, and it scared me. But then I'm thinking like other, I don't know what else is on the list. Like,
I mean, sometimes they came back. Children of the Corn.
I haven't seen those.
I haven't seen those. Cujo, haven't seen. That's one that people like. Graveyard Shift is one that people like that I haven't seen.
Graveyard Shift, is that a movie?
Yeah,
because I've read the book and thought the book was great, but the book was short stories. It's a bunch of fucked up stuff too. Like there's one story in it. There's a couple stories in it that still to this day, when I think about them, kind of fuck me up. But I didn't know they made a movie. I know they tried to adapt one of the short stories to a full-length feature film, like within the last like year or two. The Boogeyman.
Okay, yeah.
Which
I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, it's based on the short story, and the short story is like pitch black fucking dark. It's pretty horrible. There's like a guy thinks that there's a monster living in his like kid's closet. And the thing that I remember from that story is he at one point comes into his child's room, and this like fucking big horrible monster has picked up his infant son and shaken it to death. It's pretty horrible. But I think the movie is like fucking The Conjuring style, like spooky house with a boogeyman in it, and we have to the child sees it, and I don't know. The trailer didn't look good, but whatever.
Yeah. So I guess the Graveyard Shift movie is an adaptation of just like the short story called Graveyard Shift.
Oh, which one was that? Does it say what the synopsis is?
John Hall is a drifter who wanders into a small town in Maine. Big surprise there. He needs a job and decides to seek employment at the community's top business, a large textile mill. He's hired to work the graveyard shift from midnight to dawn, cleaning out the basement of the textile mill.
Sounds vaguely familiar. I don't remember that story specifically. The other one that fucks me up is there's one where a guy gets like, he has like cocaine, I think, planted on his car, and there's like a mafioso type who's strong arming him or something, and to get the cops called off of his car, the mafioso guy like has him scale like the top of a skyscraper. Like he has to go out and walk around the perimeter of it. And
I remember that one.
Reading that makes my fucking palms sweat. Oh my God, that one's fucked up. But anyway,
Eat your mom's spaghetti.
Yeah,
I remember that was in the book that you lent me.
Oh yeah,
that I think we tried to hunt down which short story collection that was one time.
I think it is Graveyard Shift. I do.
I think it was.
Is.
Yeah,
or Night Shift or something of that nature.
Now Night Shift. That's a great movie.
That's Scorsese.
It's a comedy,
yeah,
but no, that's After Hours.
I'm thinking After Hours. Jesus fucking
Night
Christ.
Shift. Night Shift is a comedy starring Michael Keaton and the Fonz.
Yeah. I watched that with you and Jules. I think.
Yeah, not
Who's the
Scorsese
director?
or anything. It just
I am thinking of After Hours 100%.
I honestly don't remember who directed
Jesus,
Night
but sorry, is there more Stephen King, or is he fucking? Can we wrap it on this asshole?
Of course, there are like 400 movies based on it. Oh, it's Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. Okay. I think Stephen King is like very overblown, and he's put out like a good chunk of great stuff, I think. But like, once you also kind of like realize his shtick, he is a little demystified as an author. But then he also does like occasionally write in some moments that are seriously fucked.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you take that many fucking ups at bat, you're gonna hit some.
It's true.
Like, he's one of those guys that has just been there.
Yeah.
Like he's always just has been in the air. And I'm sure that if I were to dig through his books, I would find things I like.
Yeah.
But there's so much of it that he kind of is. It's like trying to get into fucking guided by voices. Like,
yeah,
I don't know where to start. The volume of it overwhelms me.
Yeah.
And I probably will like some of it, but can someone make the playlist for me?
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel about Stephen King.
I would say like he has a pretty good record prior to the 2000s and maybe like the 90s. Like I think a lot of my favorite stuff from him came from the 80s, because that's what my dad had on hand. And that's also when he was doing the most coke, I do believe. So, but like that's also when he wrote like fucking It, which is like 1,100 pages and has like an orgy scene with children, which is not fun to read.
Yeah, fair.
So
I always think, like, here's the thing. I think in the timeline where I was growing up and would have gotten into Stephen King was around the time the fucking miniseries for the Under the Dome happened.
Oh my God.
And I got so annoyed by those fucking ads that I think like Stephen King took some extra like hits in my brain because of my annoyance at that TV miniseries.
Yeah.
So I probably low rate Stephen King a little bit due to things that were not technically within his control.
Sure.
So, you know,
I would say
I'll watch more of his movies.
Salem's Lot is a good book. From my remember, honestly, I haven't read Stephen King in so long. Maybe I should just reread some Stephen King when I get the chance. But
hey, there you go.
I would, yeah. There's definitely some ones. I still think that in all my reading of his stuff, it was like that Graveyard Shift book of short. I think he's best in the short form stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think I could do fucking Dark Tower stuff.
No.
I don't think I could do like those things. That just feels so like every person I've ever seen who likes those series, there's like a 5-minute caveat after they say they like it where they talk about all the stuff that's like really hard to get through and
yeah,
boring and like but then you have to get through this to get to this, and then with this makes sense, but then you have to go back and do like it just seems like an ordeal.
Yeah.
And I don't need that.
Yeah. Whew. Well, I'm trying to think. So Stephen King, good spooky stuff, I guess. I actually have a book that I've been like slowly getting through that is horror, because like I'd really like to explore horror as a book genre more. And I picked this up like a while ago, and just it's a series of short stories, but it's by this author called B.R. Yeager. And the book is called Burn You the Fuck Alive. It's pretty dark, and a couple of the ones that I read were also sort of, I'm trying to find the right word. They weren't quite explicit with the storytelling. Like they were kind of painting images in a way. But it's been very interesting. And B.R. Yeager is somebody that I don't remember how I found them, but my impression of their writing is that this is a person who appreciates horror and has come out the other side of the grinder that is like online hellish garbage. Like this person has a book that I think is sort of like clearly meant to. I'm trying to remember the names of the books off the top of my head, and I'm not going to be able to do that. But I'll send you like.
I think I was looking at a book by this person like last weekend when I was looking at horror books. Negative Space.
Negative Space. Yeah, that's the other one that I wanted to read. There's one that's called like, I want to say it's called like Amygdalopolis or something like that. And I think that's about like, teens on like a 4chan type site leading to some sort of horror. It's very like bleak, dark, contemporary horror. But it has been interesting. So I'll keep you updated on Burn You the Fuck Alive, because I like what I'm reading so far. And it was just, I don't know, it was an interesting new, it felt fresh. I've not read anything like this. I actually have this, and then the other one that I really wanted to read is, oh God, Din of Celestial Birds. Which... Sorry, these are like kind of like, I don't know if they're like deep cuts necessarily, but like Den of Celestial Birds is a book that got, the reason I found out about it, it's written by Brian Evenson. And the reason I found out about it, so this is another one next on my list. Do you remember the era of the internet where like there's the GIF of like the scary black and white film of like a weird ghoulish face, and it's like bleeding from the face, and it's like this robed figure sort of like disemboweling itself?
I think so.
Have you heard of the movie Begotten?
Yeah.
It's from that movie, which I've seen that. Like I saw that a long time ago. It was one of those things that when you prowl around online in like the late 2000s or early 2010s, in particular spaces, Begotten is brought up as like, this is the most disturbing movie. It's super scary. Honestly,
I'm aware of it.
No, it's not. I've watched it. It's an art film, really, is what it is. And it's cool and all.
Yeah, it's like Czech, isn't it? It's like from Europe somewhere, isn't it?
Maybe that might be the case. I'm not totally sure, but it led me to this book that I saw somebody talking about that was like highly recommended. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while now, because the director also directed a film version of the book, Den of Celestial Birds. So that is, it's, I believe, again,
it's the
short
guy,
stories.
It's the guy that directed Shadow of the Vampire.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen Shadow of the Vampire.
Oh, it's really good. It's actually finally available digitally now for like rent and shit. So you actually see it on streaming services.
Shit. Okay.
I watched it on YouTube because I randomly found someone had uploaded it when it was still unavailable. So I watched it one night.
Interesting.
Really good movie.
Okay.
Worth your time.
Yeah. So if that sounds interesting, I'll keep you updated on both those books. I'm really trying to explore horror. If people have recommendations too of horror, like I've gone through, I never got into Kuntz. I don't like Kuntz. I'm a little past my Stephen King phase. But if you got stuff like this B.R. Yeager guy or whatever, like let me know because I'm always interested in horror. Did you ever read House of Leaves, Niall?
No.
Okay.
No, I never got around to
okay.
it. I tried to borrow it from you, but your copy was missing.
Yeah, it never got returned actually, but
so I haven't gotten around to it yet.
I remember thinking that was cool, like whoa, trippy, and it's like pretty good. Anyways, I don't know. Have you read any like horror comics? Is that? I mean, I know you were reading
no
PTSD Radio, but
what else was I reading? I didn't read horror comics. I was reading. Oh, technically, yeah, a little bit. I was reading. I have a thing for punching above its class 80s, like the B tier characters, like Mike Grell's Green Arrow run from the 80s, or your like Animal Man with Grant Morrison,
sure.
like the kind of weirder characters. I started reading John Ostrander's The Spectre run. From like the early 90s, and the whole thing of The Spectre is that he's like a guy that got murdered, and because he wanted vengeance and justice so badly, he was given this like cosmic power so he can go around and like basically do like surprise twist moral play endings to people.
Oh, that's sick. That's very like, 90s too.
Yeah, it's like, but so this run is kind of looking at that a little differently, and it has him basically like the first couple issues he's doing all of that kind of stuff, and then someone's like, who the fuck are you to judge? And he's like goes on like an existential fucking crisis about like whether like how the basically like justice versus morality and good and evil, like it's very kind of navel gazy, how morality play kind of fun stuff in that way, mixed with this like kind of really interestingly a really good power set for visual depiction, because it's a lot of like him in like dream worlds doing like battling conceptually with people and shit like that.
That sounds
and
really
a lot of
cool.
like kind of.
You said this is Mike Grell?
No, this is John Ostrander. Mike Grell's Green Arrow run is a similar
okay,
vibe thing that I also love. Yes, this is John Ostrander, who I think is best known for starting the Suicide Squad series, probably. I don't know what else he's done. A bunch of other stuff. He was?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He was good.
Is this the Spectre? Is it a DC thing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably why I've never heard of it. That's interesting though. It doesn't. And you said Grant Morrison had a run on it.
No, he had a run on Animal Man that was in the same era. That was like I was trying to draw. I really like kind of secondary characters that they don't care about enough that they let like young writers do
weird,
interesting shit with.
Yeah.
And this, I feel like, is kind of in that vein where it's like a little looser, a little more creator feeling, a little more. He's never like punching some cosmic villain in the face.
Sure.
Like it's very, it's that vibe, which I really enjoy in comics.
It does. Well, it just you threw out a lot of names, and I just like that idea of the Spectre that you just described does sound very Grant Morrison-y to me.
Yeah, he definitely could have, or they could have definitely fucked around with that kind of concept very easily. But I don't think they've ever written the Spectre on any long form. I'm curious if the Spectre ever interfered, because like that does feel like such a character for Grant to play with, and I'm not sure they ever did.
Huh? Interesting. I think I've told you this before, but like probably I've been so out of the loop with comics, but the last thing I read that like blew my mind and reminded me why I loved the medium. I should count manga here, but like American comics. I think back to Grant Morrison's Legion of Doom.
Doom Patrol.
Or Doom Patrol. God damn it. Doom Patrol. Over and over. It's some of the best shit I've ever read. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to take another swing at more American cut, because the Spectre sounds awesome. Like what you just described sounds great.
It's pretty great. He's like, you know, one of the first things he's doing is dealing with this guy that was involved with his death, and so he's like reliving this thing and finding out new information, and he's like, he breaks free of it and is like this massive cosmic force, and it's just like it's the right mix of the fun parts of comics with like enough attention to the character as a person that it is like entertaining and good, you know?
Yeah.
I really like that era of like Cape comics that aren't actually really Cape comics.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, I mean, you can tell me if this assessment is correct or not, but I feel like that era is like directly after the era of like comics maybe being at their lowest point. Just like as an industry. And so like it feels like there's like a lot of like wild takes and risks being done.
I mean, it's literally the era where the creators started doing enough interesting shit that the boom could happen 5 years later or whatever, where like they started to generate enough interest in comics that people started to pay attention, and then everyone cashed in and comics sucked. Again, it was, you know, it's the cycle.
Yeah. I don't want like, cause like, I feel like this is like never come up on the main show, but like, I don't want the state of comic books, like, especially with regards to the movies, to like murder my love for them. But again, it's like, it comes in such waves for me. I don't even like know where to go back to, but the Spectre might be a good spot.
I honestly, I'll give you some historical runs if you want to scratch that itch, because I've read a bunch of like good, pretty self-contained runs from that era that I think are definitely worth your time, and they're pretty easy to find online if you want to. And there's plenty of that stuff out there, and it's a lot easier than trying to jump in on anything right now, because I also like I vaguely keep abreast of it because I follow a bunch of comics people on Twitter and various other places, so I see stuff as it's coming out, and I think kind of the American Big Two comics system right now is pretty fucking dire, but that's I haven't read enough of it to really say that, but I also watch stuff and see reactions, and I don't really see people popping for a lot of things happening in mainline Marvel or DC anymore.
Is there is there any series right now that's like got like an enthusiastic following, or is it really just that fucked?
I mean, there's people. The things that I see are people who there's a lot of kind of new stuff happening right now. There's they just launched a bunch of X-Men titles that people are kind of figuring out what's good about. The absolute stuff at DC just started, and everyone's trying to figure out how, like, there aren't a lot of ongoing things that I see people. The thing that I see people most excited about, honestly, is like, I guess Superman has been pretty consistently good for a while. Outside of like ever since Bendis left Superman, I think.
Oh, right.
People have kind of liked it.
Interesting.
And then on the Marvel side, I honestly don't know a lot of like I know that some people like the X-Men stuff, but that's honestly most of what everything else. The Spider-Man panel at New York Comic Con supposedly just like tanked. Like I don't know. It's kind of weird right now. I don't really know what to do with it.
Well, my favorite stuff is like older stuff typically. I mean, a lot of obviously, like, for nostalgia reasons, 90s comics are like some of my favorite things just because I actually read those as a kid. But then, like, I feel like the most interesting stuff that I've read comes from like the 80s typically.
I want to look. I largely agree with you. I just do not want to fall into the trap that I hear a lot of people going on. There are good comics coming out nowadays. They just, a lot of them are not at Marvel or DC.
Sure, of course.
There is good stuff out there if you look for it. It is there. Yeah. Comics as a medium is not lesser than it was, whatever. It is, the big two are just not taking a lot of swings creatively.
Yeah.
Outside of like I've heard some people like the Ultimate line right now at Marvel with like Hickman doing Ultimate Spider-Man. People really like that. I liked the first issue. But I didn't want to end talking about by saying no. Like, because I think that it's very easy to be like, everything that came before it was good and now it sucks. Everything sucks now. And I don't think that's how it is. I just think we're in a particularly guarded creative time in Marvel and DC where neither company is really wanting to put their weight behind any significant change because everyone is so focused on movies that they don't want to take a lot of swings in their books, and that leads to a lot of stagnation, short runs, and unfulfilling creative in their comics.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying
to. I imagine that was more for people listening and less for me, because I understood what you're saying. And, you know, of course, like independent comics and smaller publishers are still doing great stuff. I follow. See, that's more my area when it comes to American comics. I fall in and out of the big two, and I just remember when I stopped reading Cape stuff. Cape shit, I should say.
Yeah,
I don't actually believe that. I remember being very excited about Hoxpox, and then like my enthusiasm sort of dwindling a little bit more over time, and just like I don't know.
They didn't follow through.
It's
some of it did, some of it was really good.
It comes and goes. Like these things obviously are in phases. I would hate to. It sounds almost to me like there needs to be another bust before a boom can begin again. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good assessment, but I've been so out of the loop that
what needs to bust isn't comics, it's the movies.
Yeah.
They need to stop making billions of dollars on every movie they put out, which is already happening, before comics will get to break free of it at all.
God, we could do an entire podcast talking about the Marvel movies situation, because I've been so checked out for so long now, but it's like
that's what we need, is two people who are entirely checked out doing an entire podcast on the state of the Marvel film
I don't
industry.
even mean that. Just like as an outside observer, it seems really bizarre right now. And also just like, I feel like it used to be genuinely fun. Many years ago at this point, which is terrifying to think about. But like when, the first couple movies were really kind of coming out, I used to have fun with it. Now I don't think about it at all. So, and there's people out there who still like their existence is like, I'm seeing the latest Marvel movie, every one that comes out. And I just, it's Disney lifestyle shit. I don't know.
Don't dedicate your entire life to Marvel or Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not a good way to be. You can like those things. I like those things. Just, with a grain of salt.
Yeah, you should not be dedicating your life to something like that. You should dedicate your life to, for instance, Evangelion. That would be more of a acceptable
there you go.
Thing. No, just kidding. Don't dedicate yourself to one thing. Enjoy a bunch of things. Enjoy the wealth of interesting creative shit that the world has to offer from all eras. That's my suggestion. Hey, that's my recommendation for the week.
Yeah, spread the love out.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff.
Check it all out.
Don't get too hooked up on one thing.
For real.
All right. Jesus Christ. Do you have anything else you want to hit, or do you want to wrap this up?
This was a great discussion. I feel like we're friends. It's crazy. Like we could talk about this stuff for a while. So, but next time we can get into it, because I want to hear more about your thoughts on the state of comics. But we can save that for next time.
I'll look. I think I'll try to put some thoughts together before next week and find some things both good and bad to talk about, because I am unprepared and also a little too out of it to have that conversation.
That's okay. And
at the moment.
This is how we prepare, is like we go, oh, we really like talking about this particular topic. Let's kick it down the road. Let's shift the goalpost.
Exactly.
Anyways, no, I think that'd be fun. So,
all right. Well, thank you all for joining us for the newest episode of The World of Weird.
That's right.
On our Patreon. Thank you all for donating. Thank you for supporting the show. We do appreciate it, all of you, and all the time you spent with us. I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.